Hello everyone, we are from Group 8. We will present about writing assessment. Before we get started, I will introduce the group members. There are Tirsa, Rangga, me, Nawang, and Aqid. Happy watching! Introduction. In the field of second language teaching, only a half century ago, experts were saying that writing was primarily a convention for recording speech and for reinforcing grammatical and lexical features of the language. Every educated child in the developed countries learned the rudiments of writing in his or her native language. But very few learn to express themselves clearly with a logical, well-developed organization that accomplishes an intended purpose. We also fully understand the difficulty of learning how to write well in any language, even in our own native language. Writing skill, at least at rudimentary levels, is a necessary condition for achieving employment in many walks of life, and is simply taken for granted in literate cultures. Genres of writing. Number 1. Academic writing. There are papers and general subject reports, essays, academically focused journals, theses, etc. Number 2. Job-related writing. There are message, letters or emails, memos, reports, schedules, labels, advertisement, etc. Number 3. Personal writing. There are letters, emails, greeting cards, calendars, entries, financial documents, medical reports, diaries, fiction, etc. Types of writing performance. Number 1. Imitative. Include the ability to spell correctly and perceive poem-graph correspondence in English spelling system. Number 2. Intensive control. Skills in producing appropriate vocabulary within a context, collocation, and idioms, and correct grammatical features up to the length of the sentence. Number 3. Responsive. Require learners to perform at limited discourse level, connecting sentences into a paragraph and creating a logical connected sequence of 2 or 3 paragraphs. Number 4. Extensive. Implies successful management of all the processes and the strategies of writing for all purposes.
Next one is micro skills of writing. So the first one is students can produce graphemes and orthographic patterns of English. The second one is learners can produce writing at an efficient rate of speed to suit the purpose. The third is learners can produce an acceptable core of words and use appropriate word order patterns. The fourth is learners can use acceptable grammatical systems. The fifth is students can express a particular meaning in different grammatical forms. And the last is that learners can use cohesive devices in written discourse. The next one is macro skills of writing. The first one is that learners can use the rhetorical forms and convention of writing discourse. 2. Appropriately accomplish the communicative functions of written text according to form and purpose. The third one is convey links and connections between events and communicate such relations as main idea, supporting idea, new information, given information, generalization, and exemplification. The fourth is distinguish between literal and implied meaning when writing. And the fifth is correctly convey culturally specific references in the context of the written text. And the sixth is develop and use a battery of writing strategies. And the next one is about designing assessment tasks for imitative writing. Okay, and the first part is task in handwriting letters, words, and punctuation. So the first test that we can give to learners is copying, or directing a test taker to copy letters or words provided. So here we can ask students to write down the words as provided by the examiner in the space provided or under the words.
And then the next one is listening close selection task. Combine dictation with a written script that has a relatively frequent deletion ratio. As we can see that student must fill the blank with the words in the box. And then the next one we have picture cue task. So display pictures that are familiar and the task taker are told to write a word related to the picture. So student must describe a picture that given to them using their own words. After that, we have form completion task. Filling on such form, so students learn to fill such as form of their identify to introducing themselves.
The next is converting numbers and abbreviation to words. Some tests have a section on which number are written. These are the example of converting number and abbreviation to word. The next is spelling task and detecting phoneme-grapheme correspondence. The first is spelling test, directing a test taker to write some word delivered by teacher. Second is picture cue task. Pictures are displayed with the objective of focusing on some familiar words whose spelling may be unpredictable. Number 3 is multiple choice techniques. Presenting words and phrase into the form of a multiple choice task risks crossing over into the domain of assessing reading. Number 4 is matching phonetic symbols. If students have become familiar with the phonetic alphabet, they could be shown symbols and asked to write the correctly spelled word alphabetically. Designing assessment tasks, intensive controlled writing. The next level of writing is what second language teacher training manuals have for decades called controlled writing. It may also be thought of as form-focused writing, grammar writing, or simply guided writing. A good deal of writing at this level is display writing as opposed to real writing. The first is diction and dictocom. In Chapter 6, dictation was described as an assessment of the integration of listening and writing. But it was clear that the primary skill being assessed is listening. Because of its response mode, however, it deserves a second mention in this chapter. Dictation is simply the rendition in writing of what one hears orally, so it could be classified as an imitative type of writing, especially since a proportion of the test taker's performance centers on correct spelling. Also, because the test taker must listen to threads of discourse and in the process insert punctuation. Next is grammatical transformation task. In the heyday of structural paradigm of language teaching with short filler techniques and short substitution drills, the practice of making grammatical transformation orally or in writing was very popular. To this day, language teachers have also used this technique as an assessment task, ostensibly to measure grammatical competence. Numerous versions of the task are possible. The first is change the tense in a paragraph, change full form of verb into reduced form, change statement to yes or no, change question into statements, combine two sentences into one using relative pronoun, change direct speech into indirect speech, and the last is change from active to passive voice. Next is picture cue task. A variety of picture cue control tasks have been used in English classroom around the world. The main advantage in this technique is in detaching the almost ubiquitous reading and writing connection, offering instead a non-verbal means to stimulate writer responses. The next is vocabulary assessment task. Most vocabulary study is carried out through reading. A number of assessment reading recognition of vocabulary were discussed in the previous chapter. Multiple choice techniques, matching, picture cue identification, cloze techniques, guessing the meaning of a word in context, and etc. The major techniques used to assess vocabulary are defining and using a word in a sentence. The latter is the more authentic, but even that task is constrained by a contrived situation in which the test taker usually in a matter of seconds has to come up with an appropriate sentence, which may or may not indicate the test taker knows the word. The next one is ordering task. One task at the sentence level may appeal to those who are fond of word games and puzzle. Ordering or reordering a scrambled set of words into a correct sentence. Here is the way that the item format appears. And the last one is short answer and sentence completion tasks. Some types of short answer tasks were discussed in Chapter 8 because of the heavy participation of reading performance in their competition. Such items range from very simple and predictable to somewhat more elaborate response.
Okay, so guys, I think that's all our presentation about assessing writing. So if you still have any questions related to our presentation today, please feel free to ask us. So that's all. Thank you for your attention. See you next time.